Today we're dissecting something that is fundamentally changing social media, micro trends, but not just what they are. We are going to look at how they catch on, how they fall off, and if businesses should even be participating in trends altogether. First, let's define what we're talking about. A micro trend is a cultural moment that captures a massive amount of attention for a short period of time. Think about this like Andy Warhol's famous concept of the 15 minutes of fame. And these trends share a few key characteristics. One, they spread across multiple platforms very quickly. Two, they generate massive amounts of user participation. And three, they fade out almost as quickly as they rise in popularity. And there are plenty of examples, from the corn kid to 6'5" man in finance to Hawk Tuah to Demure, which if you're watching this and all of those, you're saying, what are they? It'll make my point. They are all moments that took over the internet for sometimes a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, where everybody was talking about it, emulating it, or participating in that trend, and then they faded away like that. So let's break down why this happens. First, we need to look at trends and why they move so quickly now, opposed to previous trends pre-internet. And it really comes down to media fragmentation. In the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, really before commercial internet took over, everything was gatekept. From our news to our music to the TV shows we watched, we all culturally would go and collectively watch Friends on a Thursday night. And maybe that would spawn a trend or things that we would all talk about. That would infiltrate society at large. That trend would last for a decent amount of time and then fade out as the next trend came in. But something happened that fundamentally changed how trends and society interact forever. And that was the increased fragmentation of media, particularly YouTube and social media. Two, anybody, celebrity or not, could upload content and that content could go viral at an almost seemingly random occurrence. So now, without the lack of a shared channel that we all ingest for our media, we have our own individual feeds, the algorithm that's feeding us content based on our interest. So there isn't this one shared moment that we're all going to talk about. There are literally thousands, millions of micro moments that are happening on all of our feeds with different content types that are served to us: podcasts, newsletters, social media, video, etc. So what happens when something cuts through the noise and really actually pierces into that cultural zeitgeist, gets out of the bubble, and starts to become something we all pay attention to? Well, it's interesting. Psychology gives us a couple reasons why those specific trends raise in popularity and why people participate in them. One, FOMO, the fear of missing out. It is real. When people see other people on their feed, people they trust, people they like, people they aspire to be like, participating in a trend, it greenlights something in their brain for them to participate. They don't want to miss out on the opportunity to take place or take part in that trend. So they will do that. Two, by participating in a trend, it actually increases your own perceived social currency. Okay, that's a mouthful, but AKA, it makes people think higher of themselves or think that they are in the in crowd when they participate in a trend. So if they do that, they're incentivized to say, I'm going to be an early adopter. I'm going to participate. Look how cool I am. And then three, the dopamine hits from participating in a trend that come by the way of likes, comments, reactions. Think about this in a different sense, like a fashion trend, right? If you were the first person to wear a certain hat that was cool, you would get compliments on that hat. People would come up and say, hey, cool hat, cool hat. And it would happen maybe a few times a day, but those would be reaffirming engagements that would tell you to wear that hat more often or to take more chances with your wardrobe, to participate in fashion trends. The internet has put jet fuel on those interactions by way of likes and comments. So if a person is told that thousands of times, hey, essentially cool hat or cool dance, they are going to be incentivized to do more of that and more of that type of content. And what's interesting, or I find interesting about these micro trends, is they follow 5 distinct phases, which is one, ground zero. This is the first poster. Oftentimes this person puts a piece of content up with no intention of it going viral. They don't know. They post something seemingly random and it resonates with us. This takes us to stage 2, which is the rise. This is when early adopters or the network effect kicks in. People see the content, they think it is cool or redeeming, they want to participate, they then remix that content, make it their own, they participate in the trend, and it starts to catch on. These people could be celebrities, they could be mid-level influencers, whatever it may be, but the trend starts to catch fire. Then we get to stage 3, which is peak saturation. This is when everybody is participating in the trend. This is our top of our curve. This is where brands are participating, your grandma's participating, you name it. Then we get to 4. This is the decline, or what we will call the cringe phase of a trend. This is when brands are left doing the trend, or maybe some of your extended and elder family, they're just finding out about these trends a little bit later in the game. And then number 5, complete obscurity. This is when trends become internet internet relics, things of the past, things you mention almost ironically to other people who are in the know, so to speak, on social media. Now, what's wild about these phases is those phases used to take a couple months to go through. If we think about things like an ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, to now it's a matter of days before something goes from ground zero to being completely forgotten about. It's days and weeks now where it used to be months. All in all, what does this mean for businesses who want to participate in trends? 95% of the time, it's a losing game is what it means. And for several reasons. I think the first and biggest thing I see where businesses struggle with trends is time. Time to get things produced and out the door and have buy-in. If you're going to participate in trends, make them your own. You have a 24 to 48 hour window to produce the content, get it shipped. 2, legalities. Look, a lot of trends use a lot of copywritten material, publicity rights of other people. It can get dicey legally, so a lot of times it's just best to avoid. And then 3, brand recall. See, consumers in your audience are more likely to remember the trend itself than the businesses who participated in those trends. So are you adding to the noise or are you standing out from it with your content? If we want to look at creating our own viral moments, I think about brands like Ryanair that are able to really understand internet culture, make content their own. They're snappy, they quote tweet, they use all of the functions within social in a very social forward way to create their own virality. And this takes a lot of courage, but it also takes a lot of creativity to be willing to do that and not just follow a trend. So for your business, I would be looking at how you can create your own moments versus how you can chase viral trends. Because remember, in a world where attention spans are getting shorter and trend windows are getting shorter and media becomes continually more fragmented, it really becomes this impossible game to play for a brand where you're always trying to keep up and you have to participate in every single trend. And in doing so, you lose sight of the long-term brand building you want to do through original content. So think about that when your business is creating content. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm Jordan Shelton. This is Mind Your Marketing. Please follow along for more marketing breakdowns and tips like this. Take care.